On August the 20th, in the summer of 2021, Arsenal signed Aaron Ramsdale from Sheffield at a reported fee of around £30 million. He was going to be the difference, was going to be the future of England, but also the future of Arsenal Football Club. His move, of course, would mean that Bernd Leno and Emi Martinez would leave Arsenal for good, and Arsenal would start a new chapter with a new goalkeeper who was really highly rated. 2 years later, Aaron Ramsdale is sitting on the bench and is going to be leaving Arsenal as David Raya has become number one ever since signing for the club last summer. So the big question is, what happened with Aaron Ramsdale, and why did Arsenal and Mikel Arteta swiftly and quickly change away from Ramsdale, the young goalkeeper who everyone thought was going to be revolutionary and at some point in time revolutionized the goalkeeping department and Arsenal to a new Spanish goalkeeper who has been really amazing? What went wrong with Aaron Ramsdale? Will he ever be the great goalkeeper that we thought he was going to become when he signed for Arsenal in 2021? And what are the real reasons why David Raya, in my opinion, is better than Aaron Ramsdale? Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel as well. If you like this kind of content, you'll find it on Cossy's Arsenal podcast. We are doing explainers and we're trying to understand the reasons between Ramsdale's dropping and Ramsdale's signing for Arsenal in the summer of 2021. By the way, we've done a video on Martin Odegaard, an explainer on how the Real Madrid reject became one of the best players in the Premier League. So if you're interested in that video, check it out on Cossy's Arsenal podcast. I'll be very, very grateful. For now, let's dive into it. Now, the first thing that Aaron Ramsdale did talk about as a player is his lack of concentration. In this video that I'm going to play for you, he shows that he actually cannot concentrate for 90 minutes. And that's one of the reasons why maybe Mikel Arteta decided to get a goalkeeper who could actually concentrate for 90 minutes.
To concentrate on a game of football for 90 minutes, I'm finished, I can't do it. So that's why I get involved with the fans and I'll sing along with the songs, and someone's giving me abuse, I'll turn around and I'll give them a bit back. Yeah. I've had me 2-3 minutes of sort of madness in my head, straight back to the football. Yeah. Okay. I've got 10-15 minutes of pure concentration again. Next thing you know, half time's around.
So in that interview, Aaron Ramsdale reveals one of the darkest secrets that a footballer should never reveal, in my opinion, ever in his life. And he says one of his biggest problems is concentration. He just can't concentrate. He just can't get himself to concentrate for 90 minutes. And of course, when Mikel Arteta was talking about David Raya after the FC Porto game in the second round, after saving 2 penalties, he said there are things he does that people don't actually notice, and there are things and qualities that he has that many players out there do not have. And one of the things we love about him is his ability to concentrate and keep calm for a very, very long time. So Aaron Ramsdale, for me, that is a key reason, and we have seen it every single time when Arsenal are in good control of games, when Arsenal are really in the driving seat, and then Aaron Ramsdale out of nowhere commits a mistake and it's a goal, and it's a cheap goal to concede, and we are back to either 0-0 or 1-1, or we are actually trailing behind in a game. Now, for a goalkeeper who is that young, I think this could be fixed. I think Mikel Arteta, Edu, and Kaya Kainak, not really Kaya Kainak, but Inaki Kaina, the goalkeeping coach, could find a humble solution and an amicable solution to this problem. Now, psychologically, it could be something that he cannot adapt to. I don't think that is going to be the case. I don't think that is the case. I think he's a young goalkeeper, a very good goalkeeper, and at some point in time, there's going to be some club, there's going to be someone who can actually help him through that period. But the reason as to why Arsenal dropped him is this season, because if you cannot concentrate for 90 minutes and Arsenal are going into the second campaign running, fighting for the title with Manchester City and now Liverpool back on board, you cannot have players that lose concentration like that. Yes, I admit that he is young, but yes, I think it was last season when Granit Xhaka talked about it, and he said, in this league, at this level, if you're young and you feel you cannot handle the pressure, you better stay home. Actually, that was in the 2022-23 campaign when Granit Xhaka was absolutely fuming that Arsenal threw the title away. So for me, if he cannot concentrate, then he cannot be the goalkeeper for Arsenal, and that's a key reason, as to why Mikel Arteta has actually decided to drop him. The other, second reason that I think is very, very key as well is the emotional instability and the emotional, switch on and switch offs in games for Aaron Ramsdale. And again, it goes back to it goes back to the lack of concentration, but it also goes back to the fact that as a goalkeeper, you've got to be able to manage situations emotionally. I mean, there are so many fans that are going to be shouting, "You'll never be playing for England again. You'll never be England's number one," and all that kind of stuff. And it's going to get to your head and it's going to affect your game. And I think when Mikel Arteta decided to choose David Raya, he chose a goalkeeper who is mentally and emotionally very strong, a hardcore, and very, very reliable and very stable. With Aaron Ramsdale, I still have a problem with him. I think he's a very, very good player when it comes to being part of this side and supporting this side. I think he's emotionally available to support others. But when you're in goal and the rival fans are chanting that you will never be England's number one, I know you are desperate to give them a response. I know you are desperate to give them, some banter back. But that is not what you should be focusing on. You should be focusing on your position as number one in goal. And there are times when Aaron Ramsdale has been affected by a goal conceded. He concedes one goal, he's shaky, all of a sudden he's making mistakes and he's emotionally all over the place. One thing we've seen with David Raya, and I'm not saying David Raya has not considered stupid goals. I'm not saying David Raya has not done some weird mistakes, but emotionally, he's a stable goalkeeper. Regardless of the chants, regardless of the chanting, regardless of the insults that will be thrown at him, he's a much stable goalkeeper. So Ramsdale, again, he finds himself in that position where the manager cannot trust you, the goalkeeping coach cannot trust you because you're a good talent and you have got the ability to be a world-class goalkeeper, but then one goal conceded affects your whole game. One bad insult from the crowd is going to affect your whole game. And I think the top goalkeepers, the Gigi Buffons of this world, the Jens Lehmann of this world, the Casillas of this world, they've got that in them. Regardless of what you say, regardless of what they hear, they are absolutely going to stay on top of their game. So for me, for Aaron Ramsdale, if he wants to become a top goalkeeper, if he wants to stay as one of the best goalkeepers and one of the best goalkeeping talents in the world, he's got to be able to deal with that. Look at the likes of Donnarumma. Look at the likes of Andre Onana at Man United. Onana is really ridiculed by his own fan base and also the opposition fan base. But Andre Onana never emotionally gets out of place. I think that's something that Ramsdale has got to work on. I'm not really sure if he stays at Arsenal. That is something we could help with, but if he doesn't stay, I hope wherever he goes, he can actually get better with emotional control and emotional intelligence. Because as a goalkeeper, it is not good on you and it doesn't look good for you when you can't deal with emotions, when you can't deal with chance and moments where you concede a goal. It's 90 minutes. If you can't deal with emotions for 90 minutes, you might not be the right guy for the job. Now, it's not all on Aaron Ramsdale. And I think this is where we get it wrong. And I think many fans out there think Ramsdale was dropped because he's just not good enough. And Ramsdale was dropped because he's a bad goalkeeper. I actually tend to disagree. And I really, really do disagree. I think Ramsdale is a top talent. When he had just signed for us in 2021, replacing Ban Leno, Leno dropping to the bench and him, getting into the first 11, he did make unbelievable saves. One against James Maddison, when we were playing Leicester City, and of course, the other against, I think it was Bruno Fernandes against Manchester United, against Liverpool as well. Even last season, we did see Aaron Ramsdale make unbelievable saves. So he's a very good goalkeeper. But Arsenal needed a much better ball playing goalkeeper, and that is why Ramsdale was dropped. So the signing of David Raya literally means that Arsenal are always out there scanning for opportunities for a much better ball playing goalkeeper. And eventually we found one. So that doesn't mean that Ramsdale is typically bad. It just means that there was someone who was better than him, and Mikel Arteta thought that at the moment he needed a much better ball playing goalkeeper. He got that opportunity and therefore he signed him. Now, when you look at the two goalkeepers and when you compare them, what went wrong is that Raya is a much better fit for Mikel Arteta's playing style, and Ramsdale is a much better fit for Mauricio Pochettino's playing style, or Eddie Howe at Newcastle. And I won't be surprised to see him at Chelsea thriving, Ramsdale, and I won't be surprised if he goes to Newcastle and he starts thriving and he gets into that England #1 spot, because I still think he will become England's #1. But in this particular instance and in this particular scenario, he finds himself in a position where he's competing with one of the best ball-playing goalkeepers on this planet. I think David Raya, if we put aside Alisson and Ederson, who in my opinion are absolutely unbelievable, David Raya in the Premier League is one of the best at, starting counterattacks, releasing the ball a little bit quicker, just confidently passing out from the back. He's so reliable, and Ramsdale is not that. A perfect example is that game against Brentford. Johan Wissa is kind of a distance away from Ramsdale, but somehow he presses him and he forces the mistake that ends up in the back of the net. If that was David Raya, that never happens. He's quick, but he's also very confident. He can easily, I think, take a step, whistle, whistles by, and then calm is restored. So I think Mikel Arteta realized this, and of course Inaki Keina as well, the goalkeeping department, coach realized this as well, that Ramsdale is not the best ball-playing goalkeeper, but actually David Raya is. And maybe Arsenal needed that, and we got the opportunity to sign him. So when you look at David Raya and what he has done with this Arsenal sign, you look at the quick counter attacks, which actually have resulted in a couple of goals, especially in the Champions League, but also in the Premier League, releasing the likes of Gabriel Martinelli, Gabriel Jesus, and Leandro Trossard on different occasions. He has done a couple of things as well, especially cross collecting. And that is where Ramsdale has a problem. I think during corners, Ramsdale really struggles. During crosses, Ramsdale really struggles. And David Raya has brought a sense of assurance and a sense of security to this Arsenal backline when we are defending corners and when we are defending crosses as well, that you have a tall guy that can come and collect them, but also watch him when he collects that ball. He doesn't stand around. He doesn't just, wait for the players to get back in shape. He's quickly trying to launch that ball. Whenever he gets on the ball, someone is already running. Someone is already making a run. It's either Bukayo Saka, it's either Gabriel Jesus or Gabriel Martinelli. And that's what Mikel Arteta wanted in his goalkeeper. Can we have a goalkeeper that is the first line of defense and the first line of attack? He said that. And for me, Raya is that goalkeeper. He's the first line of defense whenever we are in a difficult situation. Our players are never afraid to trust David Raya. And whenever our back line has been beaten, when you're playing a high line, he's always up to the task. He's going to anticipate those situations and he's going to deal with them very quickly. But the other thing is he is always the first line of attack. As we build up from David Raya. But when we are in a congested penalty area and he is in possession, he's going to throw out that ball really quickly and really accurately, and Arsenal will benefit eventually. So those are some of the things that he doesn't do at Ramsdale that David Raya absolutely does. Now, this is purely selfish, but it is also true. Ramsdale was dropped because of Inaki Keina's influence on who gets into goal and who is going to be Arsenal's #1 goalkeeper. Now, Inaki Keina is Arsenal's goalkeeping coach, who we got from Brentford, and he has been a big fan of David Raya. He worked with David Raya at Blackburn. He also worked with David Raya, I think, at Brentford as well. And that is something that really gets underlooked or overlooked at some point in time, but it's actually very key. When we signed David Raya, I said this. He has rejoined Inaki Keina, his former, scout and goalkeeping coach. He's definitely going to be recommended by the goalkeeping coach to Mikel Arteta as the best goalkeeper at the moment. And that is what has actually happened. So it is not all on Ramsdale. It's also political. It's also because Raya is the goalkeeping coach's favorite goalkeeper, and therefore he's going to be suggested to Mikel Arteta every single day. And I know Mikel Arteta loves Ramsdale, and I know Edu and the hierarchy at Arsenal love Ramsdale. He is a cheerful guy, he's a leader, and he is such a personality to have around. But in the end, the truth is the goalkeeping coach has got a final say. And when he says Raya is the much better goalkeeper to play, I think he's always going to go, Mikel is always going to go with David Raya. So it's a little bit political there, and I don't know whether you believe that, but I also think that it's a key reason. The other key reason is the arrival of an opportunity of a long sought after target, and we talked about this when Fabrizio Romano said that we have wanted him for some time, and when we looked at the opportunity as being timely, Arsenal decided to go and sign him because they thought it was a very good opportunity on the market. And when you sign a player that you've looked after and you've sought after for a very long time, it means that you've actually unlocked phase one of your transfer strategy. And you look at that hierarchy of goalkeepers that Arsenal were looking at. First, it was David Raya. Second, it was Andre Onana. Third, it was Aaron Ramsdale. So for us to sign our third choice, and then if after 2 years our first choice becomes available, it just tells you that Ramsdale was never our first choice, and Mikel Arteta was waiting for that moment where his first choice is available, and we go for him. And indeed, we did go for him. So, lastly, I think this is something that I should have talked about earlier on in the video before some people logged off. Ramsdale is for the future, and Raya is for now. And that is a big reason why Raya is the goalkeeper at Arsenal and why Ramsdale has only played and started 6 times for Arsenal. When you look at the Arsenal project right now, what are we looking for? We're looking for players that can win us titles. We're looking for players that can advance this team to the next level. That is David Raya, that is Joshua Kimmich, that is Declan Rice, that is Julian Timber. We're talking about players that are going to create an instant impact right now. Players that are not going to need to learn how to concentrate 90 minutes in a game, how to emotionally be stable and deal with your emotions in 90 minutes at Allianz Arena. So Ramsdale is for the future, and Mikel Arteta's project has now developed very quickly past Ramsdale. I understand he is in pain, and his father says that the decision was never explained by Mikel Arteta and Edu and the hierarchy at Arsenal, but I personally do get the reason why Ramsdale is no longer our first choice and he will be leaving Arsenal in this summer.